Welcome to Coffee Conversations. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and we are live at the Duralast headquarters in Saginaw, Michigan. We have been looking forward to this Coffee Conversations for so long. We are going to be with one of the legacy families in roofing and really talking about what it means to be families in roofing, to be at the top of the sales chain, and really what's happening out there. So before we get started with some very special introductions, I want to go over a few housekeeping. First of all, this is being recorded. We're happy to have you out there. As always with these coffee conversations, we want to be very interactive, so please join us in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're calling in from or watching, and also what kind of business you have. And throughout the entire conversation, please let us know what you think. Share your comments, ask questions. We have people, Megan Ellsworth, our producer, is monitoring the chat. We also have some folks out there, Karen Edwards, and I know there's a few others. So be sure to be active, and they'll yell out some of those questions for us. We also, again, this is being recorded, and it will be available within 24 hours on demand, so be sure to share it out to everyone. So let's get started with this live Coffee Conversations. First of all, the title of this Coffee Conversation, I think, is so perfect, and it's called Representing Excellence, the Gottron Family Legacy. And let me tell you, I've spent the best morning so far with this family, getting to know them. So I want all of you to meet them and really see how special this all is. So, gentlemen, hello.
Hello. Good morning, Heidi.
So excited to have you all here. Let's start with some introductions. So first, Jeff, if you can introduce yourself, tell us about your company and what you do with it.
All right. So I'm Jeff Gottron. Started with Duralast in 1983, along with my father, Joe. And I live in Fenton, Michigan, and represent Duralast as Engineered Systems of Michigan, independent representative.
I love it. I love it. Mike.
Yep, Mike Gottron. I live in Columbus, Ohio. I started with Duralast representing them in 1985. I actually worked for them as an employee, their first national sales manager in 84, and happy to be here.
So happy to have you. Brian.
I'm Brian Gottron. I live in Dayton, Ohio, and I started in 1996, co-independent rep for Duralast in Ohio with my brother Mike, and yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. And Chris.
Yep, Chris Gottron. I live in Columbus, Ohio with Engineered Systems. Joined Engineered Systems and the DL team in 2018, and yeah, excited to be here as well.
That's so great. Trevor.
I'm Trevor Gottron. I live here in Michigan. I'm a sales rep for Jeff Gottron and Engineered Systems of Michigan as well, and I live in Fenton also.
And Austin.
Yes, I'm Austin. Happy to be here. Also rep in Michigan, independent rep with Duralast and Engineered Systems of Michigan, also Gottron Consulting Group if you look online for marketing purposes, but just happy to be here.
I love it. So as you know, really when we were getting ready talking about this Coffee Conversations, I was really excited because after 30 plus years in the roofing industry, you have to know that manufacturers' reps are really the heartbeat. They are the heartbeat of our industry. They know everybody. And so it's been fun. We've been kind of sharing, do you know this person? Do you know that person? And really looking at this. And so Duralast wanted to bring the Gottron family together to really show how important manufacturers' reps are and share some wisdom of what's going out there, because Duralast has some of the most loyal, motivated, successful reps in the industry. So today that's what we're going to be talking about. Be sure to ask questions as we go along, but we're going to first, as we always like to do, we're going to tell some stories. We're going to hear a little bit of the history of the Gottron family. So Jeff, let's start with you. Loves to tell a story. I've already figured that out. And but what I would love to hear is, how did the Gottron family get involved with Duralast? How did it all start?
Well, it all started in May of 1983. I was supposed to go to work for Ohio Bell, which was it was Ohio Bell and AT&T, and I had an internship with them in the summer before, and they offered me a job, and I was so fired up, getting ready to go to work for them, and about a month before graduation in college, the government stepped in and divested. They were the last of the monopolies. So all of a sudden, they put a hiring freeze on. I no longer had a job. And back in '83, it was the Jimmy Carter era where the interest rates were about 20% and nobody was hiring. And so I didn't have a job. So my father called me on a Tuesday morning after a poker game on Monday night, and this guy, Bob Pitts, who was one of his best friends, he was the largest independent rep for pool liners.
Okay.
So he was selling all kinds of pool supplies, whatever, and he was just at a national seminar with John Burt, who owned Tri-City Vinyl, and he was representing John Burt with the pool liners. So they were together, and John was trying to talk him into becoming the first rep in Ohio. So Bob was too busy. He had like 13 states with pool liners and all kinds of pool supplies and things like that. So he told John, you know, I'm too busy to represent your roofing product, but I got a friend that I think would be great for you. So he told my dad. So I get a call about 6 in the morning on a Tuesday, and my dad called. It was the first time he ever called me at college. Usually it was my mom, right? So
Back in the day
Dad
before
calls,
cell
and I
phones.
thought something happened to Mom. I go, is Mom okay? No, she's doing fine. But I was with Pitsy last night, and he's got this great opportunity, and I'm thinking it'd be fun. You're getting ready to graduate, and Dad wasn't, was unemployed at the time, and he's like, let's go check this roofing company out of Saginaw, Michigan, and see if we can be the first reps in Ohio. So I go, okay, let's go up there this coming Friday. So Dad and I drive up to Saginaw. We met John Burt, and if you ever met John Burt, first thing he's going to tell you is his dreams of making Duralast the world's best roof.
I
right?
remember that. Let me tell you, great marketing.
Yep. And at the time, there was 84 different roofing companies, and we were number 84 out of 84. But he was so convincing and so passionate about the product, we thought, man, we're going to take this to the top,
Yeah.
right? So we decided to take the line on in June 1st of 1983. So Dad and I started together in Fremont, Ohio, and John Burt was a big hunter and fisherman, and Dad had a fishing boat and had a marsh for ducks and geese. So John, who was a World War II pilot, had his own Cessna plane. He would fly down, and we'd do sales calls in the morning, and we'd either go fishing or hunting in the afternoon, right?
good
Depending on
old
what the
days.
season was. And so after, a whole, from June to we get towards about November, John's like, hey, you guys are doing really good. We're starting to set up all these contractors and got things rolling in Ohio. He goes, I think you ought to move to Michigan, leave your dad down here, and you need to do the same thing up in Michigan. So it was kind of funny because Mike was.
Now wait, I'm going to hold on because I want
Okay.
Mike to tell his story. So
Okay.
right now, this has been so much fun. So okay, so did you go to Michigan?
Yeah, so
Yes.
I moved up to Michigan January 1st of 1984, and John's like, hey, Mildred, we got a place in Florida, so she would spend the winter down in Florida. He goes, you can just live with me until you find a place.
Okay, I didn't hear that earlier. Okay, then Mike, where were you in this whole story?
I was living in Houston, Texas, so my background is HR, and I was hiring people for Tenneco Oil, one of the top biggest companies in the country. So Jeff and Dad were pretty excited about being associated with Duralast, and I was going to be coming home for Christmas to visit the family from Texas. So they said, any chance you'd come up to Michigan and just see what we're doing? So I came home, Fremont, Ohio. We drove up to Saginaw. we did like a tour of the facility, and like Jeff said, spending time with John Burt, he starts telling me his vision and what do you do, Mike? And I hire people for oil industry and this and that. And he goes, why don't you come to work for me and become our first national sales manager?
And your dad's like, no.
Yeah. So it's like I was dating a girl down there who had given me a plane ticket to come home for Christmas to see my family. Next thing I'm calling her saying, you're not going to believe this, but I got offered a job in Saginaw, Michigan. She wasn't real happy, but she said, hey, do what you think you should do. And believe it or not, I went back and gave my 2 weeks notice and moved to Saginaw, Michigan. Wow. So it's kind of crazy how life works. But I think the other funny thing is these guys made like $11,000 commission their first 6 months, and they're so excited that they're doing this. And but John's vision and the way he could make you believe was pretty much part of the reason I did it.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, and Brian, how did you come into this great opportunity to join? They're all willing you in, right?
Exactly. I'm the youngest of 7 kids, and I'm way younger than everybody, way younger. I was 10 years old when all that started in '83, and so I kind of grew up a little bit just kind of watching everything that they were saying as far as them going out on sales calls and contractors coming by or Mr. Burt coming by and all that kind of thing, but I never really gave it any real consideration as like a career. I was interested in engineering. I went to Ohio State to study civil engineering, and I co-opted doing all of that, and I got several offers to do structural engineering. And kind of towards the 11th hour when I was getting close to graduation, I remember Mike, he was living in the Columbus area at the time, and he reached out and said, hey, I'm going to be down your way. You want to go grab lunch? And we had lunch together, and that was kind of when he said, I really think that instead of going that route, I could really use your help. Dad's about 65. He's doing a lot more hunting and fishing than he is selling.
This is just afternoons at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So obviously it was a tough decision because I was thinking about being an engineer all that time up to that point, and frankly I kind of avoided things like public speaking and things that might actually be part of the job description, which tells you how desperate Mike was for help. I was like, you really want me to come do that? So, but I made the decision. I said, I guess I could always go back to engineering. If I don't like this, I'm going to give this a shot. And so I graduated in March of '96, started with him April 1st of '96, and we've been working together now for 28 and a half years, so it's been great.
Pretty cool.
We're going to talk a little bit about that too. What does that mean with the family and working together and laughing together? And I'm sure sometimes a little annoyed with each other, but you wouldn't have seen that, let me tell you, at all so far. Okay, now the next generation, right? So Chris, how did you get into all this?
It mirrors much of that story in a lot of ways, but I grew up kind of in the business, if you will, but arm's length. It would be weekends of cleaning out the back storage room or inputting business cards or anything to kind of just help things along, right? And so I went to Ohio State for finance. I graduated, joined Nielsen TV Ratings, great company, great people, and learned a ton. I worked with them for about 4 years and got to travel much of the world, much of the country for work. And so we were on an assignment in San Francisco, and my dad calls me at 4 in the morning and goes, "Hey, you got a minute?" I go, "Well, it's 4 in the morning, so I've got a few minutes." And he goes, I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but it would be great if you would come into business or if you'd be interested at all. And so I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, let me get back to you when it's normal hours. And I called him back a couple of days later, and I go, I want to do this. I'll join you, but I'm going to put a 2-year stipulation on it, and that way, if it's not going well, I'll just bail out, and no harm, no foul. And he goes, great, that works for me. And that was June 11th of 2018, and it blew by, and it keeps becoming more fun each year. But no, it's been a blast, and it's been fun to work with family either loosely through Michigan, but also directly with these two, and it's been awesome.
That's awesome. That is so great, and it's definitely been more than 2 years.
Definitely been more than 2 years.
I've heard some of those too. Trevor.
Yeah, so kind of like Chris, grew up around Duralast my whole life. I mean, he's a passionate individual. He's been with the company for 41 years. So grew up in the back seat with insulation in the back seat, poking holes through, playing with membrane and Duralast screwdrivers. So, as you can say, and it's funny, like, it's just, I went to Northwood and Mott Community College for marketing, and it's funny how marketing sticks with you, and that kind of stuck with me my whole life.
Yeah.
So I've been working with Nike the past 5 years, and he's been bugging me, like, really think it'd be great if you join and, work for me. I'd love it. And it finally worked this past year, and I started in March. So it's been an incredible opportunity, and I see why he's so passionate about it. But it's been awesome getting to see my family and why they're so passionate, and how much respect they command from this industry, and how hard they've worked to be where they're at. So it's been an incredible opportunity so far.
That is a great point too. You just, that legacy. That's how we started talking about this legacy. I love that. Austin.
Yes. Yeah, it truly is an honor. I mean, like going back there and seeing John's old Rolodex with your guys' name in there and Grandpa's name in there, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I joined just this past year, and had some roofing experience on a crew as an estimator years ago, and then got into sales with power tools and technology, and went down to Texas and met Bella, who helped us put all this together.
Yes.
And always thought, had Duralast in the back of my mind, was obviously very fond of Duralast, but got going with my career and was just doing what was working, and had some great experiences, met some amazing people, and just worked out where just this year we're talking, and he'd asked me to come work before, and I had just gotten some different opportunities, but man, timing just worked out, and it's been so fun to work with my brother, and get to be closer to family all the time, and it really is an honor to be able to learn from these guys and learn from the best, really, and also be able to carry on that legacy. And we're really not the only people that have been so loyal to Duralast. I mean, so many people around the company been here decades, so it really speaks to Duralast.
I mean, when you think about that, and with Duralast, and with your dad and Grandpa Joe Gottron, with you two starting, and I want you to tell just a little bit of the story about how you started bringing in everybody around you too. I mean, some of your best buddies, right?
Yeah.
Like that passion spread obviously to the family, but overall, this industry, roofing, is all about family. I mean, it really is family. And so when you have this kind of family, you want to work for people who appreciate or represent people who are family, which obviously Duralast and the Burts were family, but also all the contractors out there. Multi-generational family, we're just, it's everywhere. So how was it when you first started bringing people in and working with all these family, passionate families?
Yeah. Well, since Mike was the first national sales manager, he was kind of in charge of recruiting people, so it was funny. He's reaching out to his friends from college, people that he knew. I happened, one of my best friends from college is Buddy Wilson, who's been a legend in the Duralast family. So he was working at a car dealership in Columbus, and I was down for a football game, and went to visit Buddy, and I was so excited about getting things rolling, and Mike had just started with Duralast hiring people, and so I go, Buddy, you need to get a state. I said, we're going to be the world's best roof. I said, we're going to be the fastest growing company out there. And he goes, well, can I get a state? I go, yeah, Mike's the new sales manager. He goes, well,
Twist my arm.
He goes, what state can I get? I go, well, anything but Michigan, Ohio, or Wisconsin. So Buddy pulls out a map, and he goes, man, Texas looks big. So sure enough, Mike ends up hiring him, and Mike and I go down to Texas to train him. And it was, so it was just and then Mike hired some of his friends from college, and it was really great because, we're starting this thing out, and anytime, I didn't care if it was 1,000 square foot, 2,000 square foot, whatever, hey, I sold another one today. And we're like keeping each other motivated, and it's just fun working with like friends and family and keeping each other motivated, because
Putting it
it's kind of
together.
lonely driving. You put a lot of windshield time out there, right? Traveling all over the state and your area, and there's a lot of alone time. But like if you can call, phone a friend.
Bring in a friend. Well, and Mike, you and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. As you start your own business, and I've seen this with Roofer's Coffee Shop, people will say, oh, don't hire family, don't hire friends, don't do that, that's bad business practice. But roofing just seems to totally ignore that. We really believe, so as you were hiring all these friends, today you look at the dynasty of the Duralast rep organization, you all created a lot of that. And talk a little bit about that, going around and bringing people in.
Well, John Bird had a policy where you couldn't rep any other lines, so it was kind of like somewhat limiting in terms of income and all that kind of stuff. So I had to call people at 6 in the morning and kind of before they woke up and see if I could talk them into it. But no, I think one of the cool things, looking back, a lot of the contractors that we signed up at those times are still with us, and it's kind of like working with these contractors that are just good, down-to-earth people, but they're out there trying to build success for their family. And I've always been of the mindset, like Zig Ziglar, I always refer to him, but if you can help people that you work with be successful, it comes back tenfold for yourself. And it's just cool to look at the relationships that we've built since 1985 in terms of with these roofing contractors, and they're still with us. And now we're dealing with their sons, and that's what's cool about with Chris and Austin and Trevor. It's kind of like now they're the same age as the people that we started with, and it's just really fun to be working with that second generation and see how successful these contractors have become, and we've been successful because of them.
And I want to kind of follow that line, because Chris, as you're working and meeting some of the probably young people who you grew up with as friends and family, how do you see this generational switch going and happening between contractors, rep groups, and just that's not always easy, the succession?
Sure, it can be complicated at times. It's funny. It depends on the dynamic of whichever company we're talking about, because people are often saying, I can't wait till I can control the whole thing, or whatever it may be. And people are like, when's your dad going to retire? And I go, I don't know, but hopefully never. Like, honest answer, because honestly, I have a ton of fun with both these guys. And it's funny that you probably had to pull off to the side of the road to make those calls. And if you asked my now wife, Allison, she's like, who's he on the phone with? Probably his dad, 17 times a day. But all that to say is, some people can't wait to control the thing, and frankly, it'll be great when that day comes, but at the same time, I don't want to give up the fun period of right now. My buddy Kevin actually convinced me. He goes, hey, do you and your dad get along? I go, great. And he goes, okay, is he competitive? I said, yeah. And he goes, is he good at business? I said, yeah. He goes, don't you want to know that side of him too? And so I feel very, very lucky to have an experience that most kids don't have. Get to see your parent in a professional manner, both parents actually. Shout out to Mom, that lady that gave him the ticket in Houston. Wanted to bring that back, but she was not happy at the time, but hey, shout out Mom. But no, all that to say, I feel very lucky, and the common thread of when I talk to others is, hey, I'm not here to change things. I'm hopefully here to enhance things, and bring things that we've all learned from our different roles. Like, I wasn't in marketing, I wasn't in sales before this, so I brought my skill set from finance, for better or for worse. I was a computer nerd, so I brought some of those processes and systems in, and hopefully that's been helpful. It's not without growing pains, for sure, but at the same time, I think the team that we've built is the best one we've had yet, and loving every second of it.
That is so cool. And Austin, I just see you. You're over there. You're just nodding. So how has that experience been similar?
Yeah, it has. I mean, you know, it's really exciting. I think what he said resonated really well with me was, you know, being able to see, you know, your dad or your family, your uncles in a different light a little bit, you know, kind of being able to see really what they've built and see them in their element truly. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if I could hop in
Yes.
one thing, I think one interesting dynamic is your son or your brother see you when you're happy, when you're not happy. You know, they see every part of you, and I think some of that can be a little scary, right? But it's cool that we have the relationship that he'll go, Dad, you're getting a little too excited, or there's things he brings up of things that I don't get done, or things I should do, but it's a healthy relationship, and I think that's what makes you better.
Yeah.
And to add on to what Mike said, and we've had a conversation, it's like you do have to have tough conversations. It's not always easy, but to be able to have that transparency with your family it's a beautiful thing. And like Chris said, it's not always easy, but at the end of the day, like, those conversations need to be had, and that's what pushes us forward. So
Yeah, we find the same. I mean, we're a family business, and we find the same thing. One of the things, and I'm really curious, and there's going to be some questions on here that they don't even know I'm going to ask, because and so much. So Brian, I'm going to ask you this: how are family gatherings? Do you only talk roofing, or do you have any rules around that?
No official rules. It's the one cool thing about, one of the many cool things about Duralast. They have an unbelievable national sales seminar, and it's a great way for us to be able to interact with contractors who've had amazing years and celebrate them. But it's often very much like a family reunion at those things, which is a lot of fun. So, we're from a big family, so getting everybody from our family together is challenging to do. So whenever we do get together, it kind of feels like the party is on. My dad was very much that way. His house was kind of just a very social gathering house. There was people that would come often, and he loved to just celebrate life with people. And we don't have like rules per se about talking. We'll probably chit-chat a little bit about business at social gatherings, but for the most part, we're trying to get around everybody and see what everybody's up to. And I was going to say, just to kind of share a little bit about what was just talked about there about family, is I can see how if people don't get along well, how family businesses could be challenging, and we're just really, really blessed to have a family where everybody enjoys being, with each other. So I do run into contractors who have some of those combative relationships within their company, and they say, how do you work with family? And I don't have like an answer or solution for them. I just say, it works for us, and we're thankful for it. But, I could see how it would be challenging for people if you genuinely don't get along with your family members, and we're lucky that we do. So.
Well, and like you said, Trevor, I mean, being able to have those conversations, and what I've seen here this morning is a lot of respect. A lot of respect and a lot of laughter, which I think goes a long ways. So one of the things that, 1984, right? That's a long time ago. I know where I was, and I was there a long time ago in 1984. What things have you seen change in the roofing industry? And really, it's going to be kind of two phrases that I'd kind of like, what things have you seen change? And then what are some of the trends, where we're going? What do you think is important to the contractor? Especially, I mean, that's a long time, 41 years, and a lot has changed.
No.
What do you think?
Yeah, because back when I started, I mean, build-up roofing was still the major player in the game. It was more than 50% of the market, probably more like 75% of the market. So like when I'd go and visit contractors, they pretty much laughed me out of their what, this
What's this?
smells like a shower curtain. You know? And they'd laugh me out of their office, and I just had to keep knocking on doors, and it was before cell phones, so I had to go get a lot of quarters and use the payphone to call Yellow Pages until somebody would give me the time to listen, and so it was pretty crazy. And so we were, started in 1978, Duralast, and back in 78 there was hardly anybody using single ply roofing, right?
Yeah.
So EPDM was just coming out, right? Trocal was like the big player, and they were from Germany,
Yeah.
right? And then they had all kinds of problems, which kind of gave PVC's bad names, but it was non-reinforced, so they had the issues because of that. So things have evolved big time, from that to now, where there's now single ply dominates the market, and build-up roof has gone by the wayside. Modifieds were in there for a while, doing quite a bit, but there's the downside of that. But so it's changed dramatically in that era.
When I think about the change from VOR to where we're at today, not only with single ply but prefabricated, right? And
Sure.
that's such a huge thing. And that in itself, with how the market's changing, with labor shortages, everything else, so many ways, Duralast was way ahead of its time. And so you guys, I've been in this, you're selling something and contractors are just looking at you like you're a little bit crazy because, you're ahead of your time. So,
I think that's where John was a visionary, was the prefabrication, especially with flashings and everything associated with it. And, I look at the other manufacturers kind of following behind, because labor's probably the biggest challenge for every contractor. So John having, prefabricated stacks and flashings and wall flashings and all the curb flashings, things like that, was just really ahead of the time. So that was the big thing that we thought was a differentiator for Duralast. But I would also say, technology, just going from, I remember when I got my first fax machine, thermal paper, and
Yeah.
I got to save a 3-hour trip because I could just fax it to them. But, stopping at pay phones and waiting at gas stations for phones. And I think that's one of the things that Chris has been able to bring to our company with, just technology and how can we do things more efficiently. And I think that's where contractors that are successful using technology to help, and then finding ways with labor. Back in the day, no one used subs, and now everyone uses subs, and it's kind of like trying to find subs and the challenges of that. So I think
And
that's
training there.
And training there, yeah.
Okay, I just have to ask a quick question. Did you have the big box with the phone on top?
Oh, I had every
Big
type
box.
of phone.
Yeah,
The bag
big
phone.
box. Yeah, the bag phone. Yeah, sorry. Now we're really going
Well, I
back
tell you
to the
one
day.
other quick thing, roaming. I mean, my cell phone bills were $2,000 a month. $2,000 a month just for my cell phone usage. That's how expensive it was to have a cell phone. It was crazy.
And Brian, you came in right around that time when cell phones actually, because I remember I was getting the cell phone going, oh yeah, this is great. And so, but what have you seen change since? I mean, you grew up in it too. I mean, watching your brothers and then coming into it. What were some of the things that you saw that really kind of differentiated what you all were doing?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I started in '96, I remember I'm still using paper maps and trying to figure out where places were. There was no GPS. I had a beeper, a pager, and a calling card, and so it'd be like I'd get something pop up on my pager to call so and so. So now I'm looking around, where's the nearest payphone so I can go. And it was just a different pace of expectation too. So I kind of learned in '96 kind of by the way these two did it. And when we were trained back then, a lot of it was, we kind of referred to it as like loyalty building activities, but most of it was like spending like a half day or a full day with one of our contractors in their truck, riding from job to help them measure things and meet with customers and explain the differences about Duralast compared to other products. And through that, some incredible relationships are built when you're basically learning about the challenges that they're going through. You learn about their family and their things that they like to do in a personal life. And I feel like as things have gone, through time now, there's a little less of that, which is disappointing, just because I think the pace of things, the expectation of things are just so fast that I would love to spend a half a day with a contractor, but the reality is they would probably say, hey, we got like 40 minutes before we got to get this thing measured and done and whatever, and it's just, everything is just faster now. But I think at the end of the day, I think consistency is probably all of our best attributes. That if one of our contractors calls us up and says they'd like to see us help them measure a 1,000-square-foot roof and it's a 2-hour drive to get there to do it, we're going to say, yeah, I'll be there first chance I can to help you. And it doesn't really matter if it's a huge building or a small building. The reality is we're going to be there to help our customer. And I think that's where a lot of relationships have been special, and that part hasn't changed.
I was just going to say, that part hasn't changed.
I agree.
That's the thing that hasn't changed. Okay, so future trends, what you're seeing out there in the industry. What are some of the things that are important to contractors today that maybe is a little bit different generationally?
Oh man, that is an excellent question. I would actually argue the opposite, in that a lot of what they've already said still holds true as the number one thing today, and it's the relationship. You can be the fastest, you can have the coolest spreadsheets or software. At the end of the day, they want to know who they're buying from, and getting out and being that reliable resource is absolutely fantastic. There's nothing that will replace FaceTime, in my opinion. No technology, but at the same time, we're seeing different softwares pop up. We're seeing different ways to put down the material. I mean, shoot, when I joined the business, walker welders were pretty common for me, but for these guys, like, that's pretty new type of stuff. So all in all, that's where the prefab sheets were always so much faster, and then rolled goods came out and walker welders, and that's going to keep progressing, especially with all the technological advances that we've had recently. There are going to be more machine robotics. There's going to be more ways of doing takeoffs. There's going to be all different stuff that is wonderful for the industry, and I think the first movers and first adopters are going to have a massive advantage. But I don't know how you guys feel about it, but the adoption tends to be relatively slow in the roofing industry for whatever reason. But
Always
no,
has been.
adopting to new things is not always the roofing industry's best trait, but at the same time, going with tried and true makes a lot of sense at times.
Well, and when you really think about it, Duralast was for progressive contractors, right? It was something, and to do prefab, to do white, to do all those things. So the contractors and who you're working with tend to, especially the loyal ones, tend to already have a little bit of that mindset. And Trevor, what are you, taking that same thing down, you're right, it's a little slow, but automation, robotics on the roof, the new types of automated machines to the labor, what are you seeing?
I think Chris hit the nail on the head. The contractors and companies that are going to be able to integrate the new technology are going to have a huge advantage, but it's not always easy, right? Especially if they're making a profit, right, and they're doing well with what they're doing. They're not going to be so susceptible to change, right, especially if it's working. But I do think, and honestly, Chris is right, like, if they don't trust you and they don't trust the relationship that you've built, they're not going to listen to what you have to say, even if you are promoting their new technology or ways to help them. They're not going to listen if they don't have the respect of you, and if they don't have the respect and trust of the manufacturer. So I think that is the most key development part of a relationship with a contractor.
I think so too, trust. And I want to come back to that because that is a key. But I would like to hear, what are some of the trends, things that you see, Austin, are important now as you are out there in the field and you're talking, and you're brand new, how many months?
Yeah, just since April.
Since April.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just in this time, although growing up in the family and in the business, but what are you seeing that this next generation is really caring about and that we need to be aware of?
Well, the end of life of your roof, being able to recycle your roof and, turn it into other products, turn it into more roof, just save on your dumpster costs at the very least from a contractor perspective. But that's definitely one. But, kind of piggybacking a little bit on that, something that is really important to contractors that I hear is just a manufacturer and a rep that answers the phone.
There you
At the
go.
end of the day, a person that answers the
Yeah.
phone, and Duralast is a prime example of that. But that's something that I don't think is going to change. Technology and everything, but the ability to get somebody on the phone, be consistent, and help, I think is the big one. But yeah, recycling, and of course, all of our DuraTough colors, the biggest trend in roofing.
Okay, the colors, there, good. See, nice. Sales organization, let's talk about that. Hey, we have some questions and comments that have come through. So, gentlemen, what is your favorite way to recruit new people? So new people into either your business or new contractors. So, how are you recruiting?
I go to my recruiting specialist, human resource manager.
And is it harder today with what you're seeing?
Yes and no. I think our best people come from people in our organization to refer their friends, and so we've had some success with that. We just hired a person that came from a referral from within our company, and it's kind of funny. A few years ago, we had one of our guys, Corey, that recommended his best friend Josh, which was a compliment that he wanted his best friend to work with.
Yeah.
This was for Engineered Systems, but after we hired him, he goes, "Do we have a referral program where you pay us?" So
I like it.
I called Chris. He goes, "Yeah, we should have one." So we said, "Yeah, we have one." So anyways, we gave him. I said, if Josh stays on 6 months, we'll pay you. So we did that. But I think contractor-wise, you've had some success as far as looking for people that fit in with Duralast.
Right. And I'd say that we've probably had the most success of younger contractors that have very successful, let's say, shingle companies, and they're looking to get into the commercial business,
I love
and
that.
they know how to sell, and they want to learn the flat roofing, and Duralast has an exceptional training program, in-house training program. Then we also spend 40 hours out in the field with these new contractors to teach them the Duralast system. And then by having every job inspected by we have 7 full-time quality control inspectors just in Michigan, right, that go out and inspect every single job. So they're not only checking the jobs to make sure that they're done right, but also if they see something that they need a little more training on, or they're giving them tips on each job, okay, how to get better, right?
Yeah.
So
It goes back to that relationship and the training. It seems like
Yes.
that helping. You've already said it a couple times, but I just love this. Helping other people succeed makes your success,
Yep.
and that's really that contractor being able to get those contractors in. Brian, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun process because the way I take a look at the west half of Ohio, I'm evaluating what types of contractors I have in each region. So some contractors like to go after large public projects. Some might like new construction. Some might like restaurants. Some might like small type projects. And what I'm trying to do is find the right balance of contractors. So in every part of my territory, I have contractors that are interested and qualified for all of those types of things, so that we have good coverage that way. But one nice thing about Duralast is they don't care necessarily what the size of a company is. What we're looking for are they good people that know how to install a good roof. So quality is important. Obviously, are they going to pay their bills, and are they the type of people that we can grow with? And it doesn't matter if they're $1 million a year company or $5 million or a $200 million a year company. If they fit those other things of quality and good people, then we're interested in talking to them. And another thing I'll add is when I started in '96, it felt like it was a lot more work to go out and try to sell contractors on why they should become Duralast dealers.
Yeah.
And now we get a lot more people reaching out to us saying, we've heard a lot of great things about Duralast. How do I get signed up? So now it's kind of flipped to the point where we have to be a little bit more discerning about making sure that they fit the right criteria to join the family, because we take sign-ups seriously. We want to make sure we're adding good people that are going to carry on the name well if we're going to decide to move forward.
What the common theme I'm hearing here, and we talk a lot about culture in a company, the culture of Duralast company, the culture of your companies, but there is a culture that also, I think, goes around contractors who are loyal to a manufacturer. And so the cultures have to fit across, going from the manufacturer to the reps, to everyone in the field, and to the contractors, and in some way to your clients, and to the building owners who care about this. I know there's one more question I want to get here, because I want to make sure we're answering all your questions. Come back. The next question is, what is the most common objection to getting new clients? And I'm going to, hopefully on this question, we're going to say new clients are, let's say both, whether it's the building owners, the final, or the contractors. What are some of the objections that, let's start with you, Austin. What are some of the objections that you hear out there, and how are you overcoming those?
I think it's a lot of times, it's just a lack of knowing what Duralast does and why Duralast is a little bit different. I think that's a big one. And just simply educating people on why Duralast is different, how Duralast partners with contractors directly, and tries to make it a team effort, all to deliver the world's best roof and vertically integrate all the different things that Duralast does. People don't know. Yeah. And so I think that's just a big one, just a matter of people not knowing, and then also, like Trevor said, people having success doing what they're doing. What's working is working. So why change if you're having success? I think it's just a matter of not knowing that maybe there's a way to be a little bit more profitable and save your guys a little bit of time.
Again, helping to win. And Trevor?
Yeah, no, and I would say the biggest objection is their why. Why did they want to put a Duralast roof on? Is it just because it's spec Duralast and they have to put it on? Or is it because they've heard what Duralast is and they're inspired by the product, or they believe in what it is? So I think it's kind of figuring out why that contractor wants to be a part of the Duralast family, and if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Honestly, a lot of it comes down to pre-notions, if you will, where when we're walking into either an owner or a GC or a contractor, almost always somebody has heard of Duralast in some way, shape, or form. With the contractors in particular, I can usually tell almost immediately if they're going to be able to work well with it or not, because they pull out their TPO or EPDM spreadsheet and they start plugging it in. They go, man, you guys are expensive. And I go, well, you're not factoring in the things that make us different. And apples to apples, we're going to lose that battle 10 times out of 10 if you keep using that spreadsheet. And I said, okay, with your penetrations, how long does that usually take you? And they're like, 2 guys, 2 hours. It costs me about $150 or whatever per penetration, and those are usually our leak points. I go, wouldn't it be easier if you knocked it down to 1 guy in 15 minutes per penetration? And when that math starts to recalibrate, they're like, holy cow, you guys are cheaper. And we're like, yeah, you're comparing sheet to sheet, but if you've got to compare the whole project. And unfortunately, the industry has been trained hey, what's my sheet cost right now? There's a lot more to the project than sheet cost.
Square foot price.
Square foot price and total install comes down to it. And frankly, the thing that I think the best contractors understand is, hey, that time savings is big for that job, but if you can get to 2 more jobs a year, think of how much more profitable you could be. So it's nice to be like, oh, we got off that job 2 days early. What that actually translates to is more jobs per year, more profit per year. And that's the missing link oftentimes. Owners and GCs tend to have the same and oftentimes those two talk to the contractors that are putting on TPO, use that spreadsheet that already puts us behind the 8 ball, and you're like, you're listening to the wrong group, but no harm, no foul. They're good contractors, they just don't understand our system. And then, unfortunately, I'll even bring back what you said, where everything's happening faster and faster, is we'll work with an architect and a job will go beautifully, and then the next job will come out and we'll see the same TPO spec from 2 months prior to that job, and we go, hey, what happened? And they go, we just don't have enough time to go and change on every job, so we're just going to copy paste it. And I go, I can understand your hardship there, but at the same time, didn't that job go pretty well? And they're like, yeah, it's just not worth our time type of thing. And trying to bring that value prop through on a consistent basis is what we try to do day in and day out. But sometimes it takes, sometimes it doesn't.
And there's so much going on right now. I love that up front, really understanding that bigger picture. And then at the end of life, too, with what you're doing with recycling and what the Duralast roofs can be recycled, to really understand that and the longevity. I mean, there's just so many factors across the board. One of the things, so I want to make sure we get, we could go for like 3 hours, I'm telling you right now. I haven't even hardly gotten through my questions, but that's okay because this is so great. There is one story and it comes down, coming back to culture, to that progressive mindset. And Brian, you were like really nodding, smiling. So I want you to start about that one particular customer and how taking care of them has led where it's led to.
It's okay. I'm going to let Mike tell it because actually this was I was probably 11 years old or 12 years old when this actually happened. But it's a pretty legendary story, and I loved hearing it told. So I'm going to let. I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, it was in 1985, and I had just gone from being working at Duralast to becoming the rep in Ohio with Dad, and it was in Columbus. It was for Wendy's International. It was our first job, and with them, and it was in Columbus. And so we had a contractor order the roof, and they hadn't had a lot of experience using our product, and got a call from the owner saying, "This doesn't look like I thought it was going to look." And so I called John Burt, and John drove down. He was there the same day. We went out on the roof, and he said, "This is terrible." And he basically said, "I'll get you a whole new roof, but we're going to get a different contractor to do it so it's done right." And we did that, and since that time, we've done 8,200 more wins. So, then he took care of it. He didn't, that's where kind of we got into better training and working with our contractors to show them. But we're still working with Wendy's. I was involved with, getting that relationship started, and I'm very proud of the fact that the first 3 customers that we started with in Ohio, we're still working with them. And I think that says a lot about, just like you said, how Duralast does things, but how, building that relationship with a customer, but standing behind it, being there when they need you, those types of things.
And you all are Duralast, right? That's the thing that is so multiple. You've won, how many awards have you won? A lot, right? Between this group, awards in the Duralast family, just on sales and leading it and putting it together. And so that says so much about what you're saying about Wendy's. Is it's the people who are around and having that company that backs you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
What I'm most proud of is, we have a bunch of contractors that we've given 40-year awards to.
Yeah, that is cool.
Which is amazing, and so many over 30 years and whatever. So, it just, that's the funnest thing about my job. And everyone's like, "Hey, when are you going to retire?" It's like, the guys that I work with, my contractors, are some of my best friends, right? So it's not like, it doesn't even feel like work. It's like, I'm going to visit a friend, and they've become successful, and because they're successful, that made me successful, and it's just fun to work together, and it's a win-win situation, right?
I love those, yes.
One thing that is funny, though, you brought up awards, and awards are nice. They're fine. But I will say the one thing about our family is, although we get along great, we're very competitive people, And I learned quickly when I was riding with him and trying to learn the business a little bit, the first 2 questions at the beginning of every month were, where are our numbers at? And where are Jeff and Buddy? because we didn't really care if we were winning the award. We wanted to beat those 2. And so it was simple like, dang it, they got another one? Yeah. All right, we got to get out of there. So it was just one of those where every single month the same 2 questions come out of where are we at and where are they at? And so that's just
success.
Yeah.
But that's a fun competition, and at the end of the day, it is cool that when he's Rep of the Year, Buddy's Rep of the Year, and it's been a great network of reps. I feel we have some of the best reps in the country, but we can all learn from each other and try to get better, and that's what we try to do.
Well, I want to do, we only have a few minutes left. Like I said, we could go so long. So what I would like to end this with is a little bit of a speed round, and it's going to be on your advice to contractors. From 2024 going into 2025, what's your nugget that every contractor watching out here right now can take home on what they should be doing for their business, just however you want to do that. So Jeff, I'm going to start with you.
Well, I still think it all comes down to quality, right? So contractors don't make any money on callbacks, right? So I think what Duralast has going more than anybody else is our quality control department and having a full-time inspection. We check every inch of every seam on every job. And Duralast is the one standing behind the warranty. So these guys are out there to make sure that that job's done right to eliminate the callbacks, which ends up saving them money in the long run. And it helps the reputation because you're going to get referrals off of good jobs. And that would be my
I love it.
advice.
No callbacks.
No callbacks.
No callbacks. I love it. Mike.
I think mine is working together is better than trying to figure it out all on your own. And my goal is to try to be a consultant to figure out how can I best help you to achieve your goals and where are your weak points and how can we help you. But I think that Duralast and even Engineered Systems, we're a sales organization and our strength is helping sell with them. So if we can work together, I think it's going to be better for both of us.
I love that. I love that. Brian.
Yeah, kind of stole my thunder there. I was going to go there as well.
Glad I got to go first.
Yeah, there's a lot of incredible tradespeople in the trades. I have the utmost respect for roofing contractors and all contractors, and many of them know their trade really, really well. Many of them have not been trained necessarily in sales, and what I often tell my contractors is isn't it a much more powerful chance to sell the project if I'm there, at your side, helping you with the sales process, so that I can be there to let that building owner know about, how the warranty works, how we're here to support you as a manufacturer, and he's there obviously to make the recommendations for hopefully our product for that application, and it works really well. I call it the power triangle because you got the building owner, the manufacturer, and the contractor all seated at the same table, so you can have a conversation about what the concerns and issues and challenges are. We can all talk, and hopefully at the end of the conversation we can ask for the order and do business together. So I just think, kind of to your point, working together is far more powerful than trying to do it on our own. Right?
Yeah, so good. Chris.
Most people in the industry already know this, but for every 2 contractors coming into the industry, there are 5 leaving in the next couple years.
Wow.
So what I will say is, to a degree, overtake care of your people. Retention is huge because that knowledge loss is more than any dollars and cents and the time away to recruit. The people you have on your team, take care of them. I mean, authentically take care of them, because you're only as good as your team, and if you don't have great people, you're bound to fail.
That's excellent.
Very good.
Excellent.
Stole my exact answer, but I had a backup one. But no, to add to what Chris said,
I love it.
good people are hard to find, so once you have them, keep them and take care of them and take the time, be patient. It's not an easy industry to break into. Be patient with them, develop them. And then my next one is for all the salespeople out there in the contracting world, follow up on your leads. Whether it's the person that went out to the call or it's another person calling on that person's behalf, a lot of people just fail to follow up on your leads. So just that'd be my simplest advice.
That's great. Okay, bring us home.
I mean, I don't think I have anything to add to all that. I would say just call us. That would be my biggest advice to contractors. Call us, leverage our help. We just want to help, and it's really exciting to be a part of these projects and see literally roofs go on people's buildings and really help people out, and so.
That you brought us perfect right around to where we started, and that is your manufacturer's reps are your greatest friends. They are the ones who can build your business, can help you maintain your business and go that next level. And here is one of the two leading groups in the industry. So, gentlemen, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. I have to say, we will be doing more of this. And I want to thank Duralast for sponsoring this, for making this happen. Talk about progressive from the very beginning. You've heard it here. And now live coffee conversations. This will be available on demand, so be sure to watch it and share it out with everyone, friends and family. And also be sure to continue to follow us, because from here, I have to say, Roofer's Coffee Shop is going to Innsbruck, Austria for the IFD, International Federation of Gottron competition of 28 and younger. We will be live streaming starting Saturday as we travel with the 3 teams that are going to be competing for the first time in this international contest. So stay tuned, get onto YouTube, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss a single moment. Also, next week, Coffee Conversations will be bringing you the 2024 Trends Report. Hey, contractors from all over the country are answering this Trends Report. You are going to see it first next week, so be sure to join Karen Edwards and Lauren White as they bring this to you, while Megan Ellsworth and I are in Innsbruck, Austria, live streaming from the competition. Thank you all, and we will be seeing you on the next Coffee Conversations.
Great job.
Yeah! I know, wasn't that bad?
Wow.